godsend, our angel. She does everything. She is involved in Common Ground, which is our social justice. She's a huge organizer. She won an award last year for her involvement from the bishop. I know she won't tell you that.
I just get this. Thank you. Might as well get the introduction.
Oh, okay. Michelle has been here for 40 years, and she does everything here. She's just fantastic. And you can pay me later, Michelle. She's involved in Common Ground, which is our social justice group, and last year she won an award from the bishop for her involvement. She's routinely given the daunting task of serving for all of our Mark's Bistro nights. On Thursday nights we have like a special Bible study, and they have dinners, and then they do the Bible study, and she is like a chef beyond anything. Her menu is, when I come in the next day, I just still drooling. It's just unbelievable. She also does the Seder meal, which I think there's like 100+ people that she does all the cooking for. She's involved in the gathering. You were like one of the founders of the gathering, weren't you, Michelle?
Well, I was their first executive.
Okay, the first executive director, so you can ask her about the gathering, the social justice group, Common Ground, and then she's also our main sheriff of our parking rental spots, and
That's a big one.
it is because we, especially with Pizza Man opening up on the corner, which we're all excited about, we're worried because people like to go and have lunch over at Cafe Hollander, and then they park in our lot, and since we rent out some of the spaces, Michelle sheriffs them in. She's also involved in our community garden, which is, you'll see it's on the back of our property over here, and she can tell you more about that. In addition, she serves as kind of the assistant pastor here. I mean,
Right.
she does all the pastoral concerns. She preaches on Sundays. When our pastor isn't here, she does the communion, the Eucharist, and she's just very involved. This church, she's the foundation of this church. She's just amazing.
Wow.
We love you.
About
You're
Okay, so what do you guys want to know?
Oh, everything.
You can.
No, I don't understand. Who you're doing, Michelle?
So go ahead. First of all, I want to ask a question about yourself. May I ask you where you live? You live in the condo, right? Right across.
Where do I live? Yeah, across the street at the St. Regis.
How long have you been there? Like for a long time?
Since 1998.
Why don't you sit over here? Okay. Have you moved from another like place?
Yeah, I live just above UWM on Maryland.
May I ask why you decided to move here?
Well, my husband and I have always wanted to. He was born on Oakland Avenue, lived in the city, and then other places all his life. He's been was a Milwaukeean, and we had our last son was at Lawrence, and we wanted to move. Looking. Condos were kind of an exciting thing then, and still are in ways. And I have always loved this neighborhood. I mean, even though I serve here, but I just like it because it's walkable. In some ways, it's like a little European town right here. And so we just started looking and found this one. And it's a huge old condo with the old, monster leaded glass. Dining room, breakfast room, kitchen, 1,700 square feet, 2 bathrooms, and it's just a lovely place.
Do you love your current place a lot?
Oh yeah, absolutely. To me, this whole area is just a fabulous urban area to live in. It has neighborhood kind of qualities, but some of the qualities of living in the city and being close to downtown, right on the bus. I have a 7-year-old car that has 30-something thousand miles on it. I mean, you know, it hardly gets used. It's wonderful.
You mentioned your son, and right?
Uh-huh.
And do you have any other family members, like other
Well,
than
I'm a
husband?
widow, but I mean, between us we had 7 children.
Oh, 7 children.
5 of them live here. My 3 live here. Well, one lives in Thiensville, which is kind of outer world. One lives in Whitefish Bay, and one lives in Sherman Park on the west side.
Okay. So we want to ask about the question about the community garden, and you're in charge of. Can you tell me how did you get involved in that kind of activity here?
Oh, well, of course, I've been a member of this parish, and then after I was ordained, I've been assigned here since I've been ordained for 10 years. We have a gorgeous, absolutely beautiful secret garden in the back of our condo. It's all walled in, and it's a shade, sort of has much of the stuff of a sort of forest land garden. If you ever want to see it, I'd be glad to show it to you. It's absolutely beautiful. You cannot grow, however, any vegetables or anything like that. And so selfishly, I thought, wouldn't it be fun? Take some of our green space here and take the turf out and start a garden. And originally it was a cooperative garden. There were a bunch of all gardening it cooperatively, and we were tithing 1/10 of it to food programs. And getting people, although I've always been interested in cooperatives, and I've been involved in managing a food co-op, and I'm on the co-op of a new health insurance company now. And nevertheless, it's a hard sell for a lot of people. They just, don't understand cooperatives. And I want my piece of land. So after 2 years of trying to talk people into gardening cooperatively, we made it into, everybody gets a plot. So we divided it up, and church members had a priority, and if whatever was left over, we would make it public, and people in the community could sign up. Well, that was about 10 years ago, and now it's about half and half, with everybody in the church, obviously, that wants one, has one, and the other half is filled with a waiting list of people in the neighborhood who've heard about it and want a space, So once you get one, you got it for as long as you take care of it and use it. So that's how it started. We had developed a lot of flooding problems with it, and 3 years ago we had significant crop damage with that major flooding in June of that year, and that would have been 11. Yeah. So one of the gardeners and members of the church, a woman named James Shiro, is a landscape gardener and by profession. So we regraded some of the front of the plots, the front ones that were having so much trouble, and created a rain garden and cut that swatch out that if you've been out there you can see, and planted that. It's a young rain garden, but we have not had any standing water in that garden since then. So it's been a spectacular success. It's a pleasure to look at. So it's a great, I think it's a great asset to the neighborhood. Met lots of people in the community that we interface with that we would have never, particularly at all. And between that and the fact that we rent out this whole side, the north side of the lot, to people in the community that have no parking places, because none of these along here, they were built 100 years ago, both Georgetown and St. Regis, and none of those, of course, had any provision for parking. if people parked, they used to be parking on the corner above Boswell's. That was a garage and parking lot. I mean, that was a common, just like in New York or in Paris, or you garage your car, you go over and you take it out for the weekend or for whatever, but you didn't use it to go to work or things, you know. So that's where I guess everyone kept the cars around here, and now, of course, that's changed. So those are rented out, and which is another way we have good, hopefully, are seen as good neighbors with the people in the area.
I want to just going back to the.
It is, by the way, not organic because we haven't established that, but we ask that people honor our intention of having no pesticides, that people are free to use natural fertilizers or bug inhibitors or whatever, but that nothing that would be of a chemical nature that would despoil the area are used there. So, and we have composting back there.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess that's about it.
I want to go back to the question about waiting list of the garden. Is that a long list or?
No, there are 2 or 3 people.
Do you think it would be better if people like each person gets their own plot, or like doing that cooperatively? In your opinion?
Well, the thing about the cooperative thing was, it makes tithing what we end up harvesting a lot easier if everybody together does squash and tomatoes and whatever. But and I think cooperatives are a great form of development, particularly in various kinds of neighborhoods. It's not a tradition. It's a tradition, though, that needs a lot of education around. Just like here, there are a lot of condos, very few cooperative housing. People the notion of it is something unlike, say, Chicago, where it's more common. People understand it, accept it. The only one I know of is up on Prospect, actually, which has had some problems with people not wanting to buy into the whole cooperative thing. And I don't know a whole lot about it. Hi, how are you? Good. Anyway, to me, I mean, this was sort of my private passion, and just not enough that I was going to go on a big thing to try to get it I mean, I could never get more than 4 or 5 people. Where now, everybody, we've got all sorts of people wanting to use it, and we encourage then people who have extra produce at the end of the summer. We take it down to like the Gathering, places like that. So we accomplish some of that. I don't think we probably do it in the amounts that we would have when we were co-oping, but.
Okay. What kind of people are using the garden currently? Like people live close by to the church?
Most well, one person who's a member of the church lives, out in Fox Point, I think, but suspect, out there, a lot of mature growth and stuff, and for the same reason I wanted one over here. But as far as the ones in the community, it's all people that are within a block or so, around here.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't tell you the biggest thing about it. As far as I know, it's the only community garden. I say that loosely because we're not like a county garden. That we have a jerry-rigged apparatus that waters. So if you're familiar with most community gardens, people are having to carry water in. Well, this is done automatically for them.
Okay.
And I mean, there's a kind of bifurcated system where they can also use this watering wand if their particular plot needs water at some particular time. They've just put in new stuff. But then the other side of that system is an overhead system that waters the entire garden at once. And I get to choose when it gets watered, so it doesn't get overwatered. So it's last summer there was a lot of watering there. This year we've done once last week since its inception and before Memorial Day. So it just varies on the summer. But the church then pays. It's out of the church's water thing, and everybody pays $15 for a half plot, or $25 for a half plot, $40 for a full plot, and for that they get mulch every other year. We bring in composted mulch, and then the charges for watering and various, like we built our composting corrals and things like that we do together.
It's $40 per month or a year?
No, for the season.
For the season.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Because I'm not really familiar with community gardening itself. So.
No,
Yeah.
I have no idea. I know water is as it becomes, a more significant resource, and with the deep tunnel, we have high water charges in the city and surrounding areas. So, in a drought season, I don't know if we come ahead or not, but we do it. So.
What I was would ask. I want to go back to the cooperative thing. Why do you think that something cooperative is difficult here rather than in Chicago or somewhere else?
Well, I don't know if there are, thousands of people swooning at the word co-op in Chicago. I just know that there are more condos that way.
Okay.
But here, I think that's probably not unlike most places in the United States. People just have the idea of liking to own their little plot rather than a percentage of a whole, and people are going to have agreement, together how they do things. Much of the governing of like a co-op, if you've ever, or in a condo, if you ever lived in a condo, those kind of common decision-making rules about things are very similar. As far as I know, the structures are different. Legally and things, and I don't think that's so. I don't know if that's what scares people off or not. I don't know if they're harder to obtain finance, but a garden, I think it's just more that idea that I have my plot and I work on that one and I keep that up and I put in there what I want to put in there.
Good. So, you've been involved in the community activities here for a long time, and I guess you've seen the change in the donor revenue?
Yeah, of course I've only lived here a little over, let's see, what was that, 98?
Yeah.
12, 50, gosh.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I've seen change since I've lived here, certainly, and I've certainly since living in Milwaukee since 72. So yeah, I think that this area was really, and I don't know when it was that Katz bought virtually the entire street except for the hardware stores independently owned. Syndics is independently owned. What was the old coffee trader precedes you, that was independently owned. Anyway, most of it was owned by Katz, including these two that he made into condos. Before that, it was really a series of small independent shop owner, and it was a pretty vibrant area. Katz bought most of that up, and I'm thinking that must have been the 80s, but you might know better than I. And rents went up incredibly. A lot of the smaller shops left because they couldn't afford that. And but seemed to do well, you know, and things were going along. A lot of the owners who'd been there have struggled with the high rents and his lack of interest in doing repairs when basements got flooded and things like, or at least this is what the merchants tell me. But the kind of goods, I mean, the street has always seemed to me to be interesting from my perspective, seeing as I have a master's degree in urban development and planning, that it was about as complete an example of a little shopping area with a really wide range of first order goods. The grocery store had a filling station at one time. There's the movie theater. Actually, there were two grocery stores for a while. The drug stores, you know, all those, the cleaners, the restaurants, all those things. And now, of course, there's doctors, there's other things. But it is nice in that it's not like an entirely restaurant-driven place, although it's becoming more that way. And some of those other little, you know, clothing stores and things, although we still have some, you know. But it's been I think, just a great example of how, of kind, you know, the village and the city kind of accessibility. And of course, with transit being the most used transit areas are 30 and 15. And, you know, 30 is right here, right at the corner, and etc. It's been really quite an interesting anchor point. And the church here, and there's, you know, some others right around there, and a kind of mix of density, apartments, homes, now condos, and of course the students. It's been, although less students here than as you get closer. I mean, some people will not own, well, rent to graduate students, they'll rent to, you know, but not so much the big undergraduate crowd, but not entirely true. So I think there have been, you know, the bars in, bars out, you know, this kind of thing. There's been change, but I don't know, it hasn't really, the basic character of Downer has not, since I've been around in the 70s, hasn't really changed dramatically. Hasn't gone, hasn't had some big apex of development, hasn't, you know, certainly with the financial crisis in 10 and 8, I mean, there clearly was the new owners that bought from Katz, where they were going to put a hotel into that facade on the west side and build up, and some other condos behind what's now Boswell's. All of that stuff, you know, has pretty well evaporated. And there was some talk that it was going to go down in the old bank building. That fell through, and I assume all of that, it didn't, though there was community pushback, notably from the water tower district, which is a lot of older, not older necessarily age, but established residents of wealth that I don't want things any different. Oh, the popcorn wagon can't go. It's been there for 20 years, you know. Nobody buys anything, but I like the popcorn wagon. So that kind of mentality, you know, the thing that with the brouhaha for 3 years over the parking garage, which of course nobody uses because they have to pay for it. So why would you use a parking garage that you had to pay for when you can sleuth around the neighborhood? But anyway, that's another story.
Can I interrupt?
Sure.
It's 11 o'clock, and I know we're going to want to take much more of what you have to talk about. So maybe we should reschedule when we can
take more time. she is really busy, and I'm not really sure if you could find another time.
Well, I
Maybe we
probably
should
could, although I
cancel
don't have
that.
my calendar.
Yeah, we
We
can
should
come.
cancel with
Well-
the next person, or?
No. We are going to see Susan Willets here
Oh, you are?
at 11. So, but she hasn't
Well, we can keep
appeared.
talking till she
Yeah.
appears
Yeah.
if you want.
Um,
We can see. I mean, you can always, you have my phone number, right, or my
Yeah.
email?
yeah.
Call me and we can see if we can
Okay,
find
thank
another
you.
time. That's okay with me. I mean, I just live across the street, obviously. This week actually is a lot less busy than many for
Okay.
me. It's kind of a little bit of a
Okay,
downtime.
yeah, I'm gonna contact you.
Okay.
Then I just want to go back to the story of
Uh-huh.
popcorn wagon.
Oh my God.
I've just read the kind of historical designation report, and I
Yeah.
know it was over there and right around the corner, but I don't know when you.
The popcorn wagon wasn't a historic designation.
Oh yeah, it was on the list.
No kidding. Well, Mike Idle, who's one of the owners of the Hollander and, you know, this set of restaurants around the city, he finally bought it.
Oh.
And,
When was it?
just
Around-
kind of the height of the brouhaha over right around there, and of the parking lot. And he had it on some land he owned and has left it there. Year and a half ago, Don, and I can't think of Don's last name, he used to be president of the Water Tower neighborhood. They demanded to see it because they wanted it and bring it back and put it across from the bank or whatever. I guess they went out. The thing, though, was in bits and pieces. I mean, it just, you know, it was something, well, let's say, to take that and put it back would be a Pyrrhic victory at best. The war's been lost or won, depending on however you think of it. And that silly popcorn wagon just symbolized all sorts of stuff. And I'm glad that Mike Idle bought it and let it go rot. I mean, it's just crazy, you know, to keep bringing these things up and going to the alderman. And unfortunately, the alderman's mother is part of it, and dad are part of the historic district. His dad was the one that sued everyone in the city over the building of that. Oh, you didn't know that? Yeah. And went on, God knows, for a couple of years. Nick Kovac's parents lived next door to it in this red Colonial. That finally the suit, I don't know where it is now, but it's kind of, I think, drifted into anonymity. It's an expensive undertaking to sue the city, and you know, unlike personal injury cases, they don't do that for free. And you know, if we lose, well, we lose. So that's gone by. I don't know what the status of it is now. I'm sure you could check with the city, but you know, I think it's one of those things that becomes a kind of flashpoint for people who were anti-development, I can remember when they talked about things, you know, 10, 15 years ago. Well, we don't want any more of this or this or that, or when they talked about maybe doing a little more parking over here or something at one point. We think that the people that use Downer should be able to walk there. We don't want other people. You know, if you have to drive here, you don't belong here kind of thing. Well, that's, of course, absurd, and you won't have any kind of development that way. But, and that was a lot behind the, you know, the corner, the big structure. And, of course, then they devolved into these great architectural battles. It should look like Disneyland. By that I mean it should be made to look like what we think a parking structure would have looked like 100 years ago. And, you know, no amount of discussion of it should just be good architecture that infills in an area that's what's happened, whether you think that's good architecture. is your own choice, but getting away from that lets everything look like what we think it should have looked like, kind of thing. And it'll be interesting with Pizza Man, because there's going to be significant changes, not too much, but quite a bit to the facade and the end building part of it. Actually, I think it's fascinating what's going to end up there with this cantilevered second floor over the street, and then the inside is open to the air. It's going to be quite a structure. But anyway, okay.
Yeah,
That
we
was
like-
Susan Willens. Yes.
So I'm gonna contact you to
Sure.
reschedule the other time.
Sure.
Thank you very much for
Hello,
today.
Miss Susan.
Hello, Michelle. I'm sure you're telling them everything they could possibly want to know.
Probably more
She doesn't
so.
have time to tell us. We'll have to get it in
we
part
just
2.
have to do
Downer
like
is one of my favorite subjects.
oh,
I love Downer.
oh, that's great.
And in the paper, interestingly, you guys should probably track it down. Go over to the Lubavitchers that are over on the corner over here of where where Lincoln Memorial Drive starts. It's that huge place, huge mansion that it's on the northwest corner. And it has a big menorah in the yard. Do you know which one I mean?
I don't know.
Oh,
you
I
might-
do. I'm
yeah.
from Milwaukee.
She,
They-
she's
Oh,
from
okay.
Milwaukee.
They're new to
It's
Milwaukee.
right up here by she's talking about right up here, right? Where Lake Drive hits Downer Avenue. Is that what you're talking about?
Where Lincoln Memorial Drive starts, right there. It's a corner of the
Kenwood, yeah.
park.
Near UWM, Kenwood.
Oh yeah, Kenwood.
Oh, that's Kenwood. Okay,
Yeah,
yes,
Kenwood
yes.
fits
Yeah, yeah.
We say Lincoln Memorial,
Yes.
we think down here, but
Yes.
it's right up here. There's the
Okay.
Okay.
They are starting, which is a whole nother thing about the Jewish community here, but anyway, I go on for that too. But they are starting an Orthodox high school for boys.
Oh really?
There's one now. Some of my grandchildren go to WIST, which is the Wisconsin Institute for the Torah Studies, which is over on Lake Drive, just if on the east side. It's an old mansion, actually, that belonged to Episcopal nuns. Anyway, that's another story. That's a boarding school, primarily, and some day students. This is going to be a day school, but what's interesting about it is they're planning to have 10 to 12 boys or something in the fall. And apparently, in the article on Sunday, I think, in the Journal, the rabbi there, the developer for the Lubavitchers, which is like a movement in Judaism, he said, we can't say where because all the lease work hasn't been done, but it's going to be on Downer Avenue, which blew my brain. And I'm thinking maybe this little day school is going to be in the old bank or down in the old Chancery space.
Chancery.
So we're going to have an Orthodox boys' high school. Now that will be somewhat of a change from the traditional occupants of Downer Avenue. Because unless it was further down on Downer.
But the
Where
bank would
is-
be perfect.
It could be a house too. Where is the
Well,
old
yeah,
bank?
It's right here on the corner.
It's the new bank, which is the old bank, but they moved from down there.
It's an
Corner of
abandoned
Park
bank on
and
the corner
Downer.
right now.
It's now at Bellevue in Downer, but it
Yeah, I
was
was
at
gonna
Park
say
in
that.
Downer.
Structure there is the new one.
Right, I
The
know the new
original
one.
bank.
Where was the
It
original?
is
Right
still
next
there.
to Downer Liquor.
That's true. I suppose it could be
It's
a
right on
house
the
right
corner,
now.
right here behind
with
these
10
apartment
boys.
complexes.
Oh, is it on faces Donner?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
Don't remember
it's there right now. Nobody's in it. It's been unoccupied for what, 4 years?
It's in front of the Sendex, right?
It's
Yeah,
in front of Sunday.
That's what they talked about.
It's an empty.
One time making a boutique, a hotel out
Yeah, they
of.
were gonna do.
There'd been once a doctor, before the sort of crash, a guy, a doctor of, nip and tuck. Going to be in there with sort of a day spa, get your Botox, get your whatever was going to be in there. And then apartments above, which we're going to look into my window, which still may happen, above the first floor of Downer, which was all cars parked. That was another
Right.
Another
that building,
garage.
okay.
Yeah, I
valet.
think there's still, if you peep in, there's like vans that are still up there
There are
now.
a few they rent out, yeah. The
Yeah.
problem is that structure is like what was over Boswell's, has to be heavily reinforced.
Yeah.
Particularly those areas because they had cars with salt and water over a century. You know, really done some damage. But, and anyway,
Okay.
that'll be an interesting one. See what happens if that's over here. I don't know. Somebody said a house, maybe.
A house?
Could be a house if they're only taking 8 or 10 boys initially.
Oh.
But he said sign a lease. Well, who knows? You know, but
Because there's houses all, I mean, I live on Downer.
yeah,
in
right,
Charlotte.
yeah. So it
Let
could
me ask
be.
something.
Who
Can we
knows?
continue this afternoon maybe, or are we booked this afternoon?
Well, we will have the interview with Steve at 12:30 to 1, and then we can do that today, actually, afternoon.
Yeah.
If
You
you
have time.
have the time.
Oh, to come back and talk here?
Yeah, like 3? What would
Or like
3 o'clock I could do. I'm gonna run some errands and I have to be back here for vestry
What
and
time are you
gardening.
meeting with Steve?
12:30
So
to
we should
1.
be done by 3.
You should be done.
Yeah,
Well,
by 1
You know how
actually.
Steve talks.
12:30 to 1:30, you said?
3:30
He has,
maybe?
but he has
Um,
classes. He's got
Oh.
music classes.
I can
Okay,
check in
okay.
here
Yeah, 2 or
around
3.
2.
Yeah,
I
around
gotta go run some errands, but I can.
Great.
I think Steve is probably gonna have classes this afternoon,
Yeah.
so that would work out.
Okay.
So
Can I see your pen?
he likes to.
Either, no, is that a pen or a
That's
pencil?
a pen.
I'll give you her home number so you can call her. Does anybody have a cell phone in case?
I even have my cell phone
I,
with me for a change.
Yeah, what
I've
is
got-
your number, Michelle?
Well, my home number is 964-3118. My cell phone is 731-0329.
All right.
I'll get
Michelle,
somebody
so that
else.
You know,
Oh,
Thank
here.
you so much.
I've got a doctor's appointment. I have to leave her at 12:30, and I'm not coming back because it's like a 3-hour long. And they're
Ooh,
probably going to
fun.
drain me of my blood.
Oh, dear.
All of it.
Give something
Thanks,
to
Frank. No, but.
Okay, good luck. Well,
You
nice
go
to talk with you guys.
Oh, Kay West.
No,
Kay
oh, that's
West
mine.
gave
Oh,
me
that's
this.